We got a new video for today. Dr. Doom unleashes Dormammu on the Marvel Universe. Check it out, boys.
Dr. Doom just accidentally unleashed Dormammu, the ruler of the Dark Dimension, on the
And we're
Marvel
getting
Universe,
straight into
and we're
it.
going to show you how. What's up, everybody? Over the past few years, Dr. Doom has slowly taken center stage.
Hopefully
in the
they
Marvel
do
universe.
a lot of series with Dr. Doom
from comics to video
after the
games, and of
movies.
course the upcoming Avengers
That'll be
Doomsday
cool.
movie, where Robert Downey Jr. will return to play the MCU's first version of Victor Von Doom. In fact, there's a very good chance that we may get his first appearance in the Thunderbolts movie this week. Regardless, last year's Comic-Con
I gotta go
announcement
check
that
it
Dr.
out,
Doom
bro.
was making his way into the MCU really made the heavy focus on Doom-related stories in Marvel Comics make a lot more sense. I mean, between 2023 and 2024 alone, Doom appeared in the Fantastic Four title, along with the Thor, Venom, Thunderbolts, X-Men, Avengers, and Strange Academy
That showdown
titles, followed by his own solo title
with
and a
all the
central
teams
role
is gonna
in the
be
Blood
crazy.
Hunt crossover event that then flowed into the Amazing Spider-Man book and others. And all along the way, he has been gaining an increasing amount of power and becoming a greater and greater danger. But that, of course, brings us to the reason we're all here, which is the ongoing One World Under Doom 9-issue crossover event. The series is now about a third of the way through the arc, and as is typically the case with Marvel, the entirety of the event's story is unfolding across 11 or 12 different titles, including the main event book. So while we're working on a long-form video that will break down the
Doom
entire
Academy,
first half
Doom's
of the One
Division.
World Under Doom crossover event, for today, we just want to talk about what just happened in issue 3, where Doom is dominating the entire Marvel
gonna
universe,
have
but also
so much
unleashes
aura
a force
in the movie.
significantly beyond him at the same time. For the sake of those who aren't up to speed on all this, however, let's do a quick recap of how we got here before we break down issue 3. Also, a quick reminder to like and share this video if you dig the show, and jump into the comments below to give us your
Please
thoughts
do
on the
the same with
episode as
me.
well. All of those things not only help us understand what you guys want to see on the channel, but also help a ton with the YouTube algorithm. So thanks in advance, and off we go. For starters, Dr. Doom is currently wildly overpowered, because after Doctor Strange was turned into a vampire during the Blood Hunt story, he granted Doom the mantle of Sorcerer
Bro, when
Supreme
are we
in
gonna
order to
get
cast a spell
fucking
powerful enough to
vampire
defeat the Lord of the
zombies?
vampires and destroy the darkness. We actually
Need
covered the
that.
complete Blood Hunt story in this episode right here. Anyway, after victory over the darkness was secured, Doom refused to return the power of Sorcerer Supreme to Doctor Strange as promised, surprising exactly 0 persons. Instead, he took credit for everyone's salvation while announcing himself to the world as the new superior Sorcerer Supreme. After that, Doom's plans for global domination slowly started to take shape across several comic titles. Most notably, the Fantastic Four and Amazing Spider-Man
They all gotta
titles,
team
where
up to
Doom
defeat him.
secluded himself within the borders of Latveria by locking the whole nation behind a magical barrier. But he just wasn't sitting around Latveria brooding. No. He was plotting. However, because Doom only wanted the power of Sorcerer Supreme to serve his own ambitions and is deeply disinterested in the primary responsibilities the mantle holds, he started either pawning those responsibilities off or neglecting them
Everybody
entirely.
started coming
For example,
in
during
and
the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man storyline, he empowered Spider-Man with magical armor and 8 more lives in order to fight Sidorak's 8 Crimson Scions, and maintain the mystical covenant made by Doctor Strange while he was still Sorcerer Supreme. It's actually a great story in its own right that we plan to cover in a separate episode. But the relevant point here is that Doom's reckless actions set the stage for some very bad consequences down the line as One World Under Doom began to roll out. And that brings us to the event itself. So as a general overview of One World Under Doom issues 1 and 2, we see Dr. Doom emerge from his seclusion in Latveria to announce a new world order, one where the leaders of every nation would now answer to him as the supreme ruler and protector. However, with the added spin that he would be holding those leaders to account for corrupt and abusive behavior toward their citizens in order to create a better world where
So is he a good guy?
But here's the thing, he not only proves he has the power to enforce his new rule by physically outmatching the Avengers and anyone else who tries to resist, he also immediately starts to win the hearts and minds of the public by promising them protection, free healthcare, free
lying
education,
like hell,
etc.
bruh.
Doom has even staged a couple incidents during the first 2 issues that further painted him as a hero in the public's eyes, including the destruction of Hydra in issue 1. With that being the case, every time the Avengers have tried to attack him or get to the bottom of his scheme, he has already been a couple steps ahead of them, and he's been able to frame them as dangerous, power-hungry, and out of touch with the people. Oh, and did I mention that Doom is also now in control of an alternate
That would
Victor
be
Von
crazy
Doom
if we
T-Rex from
see
another
that.
dimension/universe that he rides like a horse and uses during battles? Yeah, that's a thing. The Doom T-Rex was introduced by writer Ryan North during a trippy story arc back in Fantastic Four issues 12 and 13, right alongside dino versions of the Avengers and Fantastic Four, and now Doom is wielding his T-Rex alternate as a battle vehicle. And if that's not enough of a wild ride for you. In One World Under Doom issue 2, we also learned that Valeria Richards is secretly in communication with Dr. Doom, and he is trying to convince her that he is the only one qualified to bring true peace to the world. And to prove it to her, he cured Benjamin Grimm the Thing from his mutation and restored him to his human form after the Fantastic Four attempted to stop him from giving a message at the United Nations,
Fantastic
which by
couldn't do
itself
it.
is a really crazy twist to the story. Either way, with the public now firmly with Dr. Doom and the Avengers completely out of answers, they team up with the Masters of Evil to confront Doom once and for all. And that leads us to One World Under Doom issue 3. And speaking of wild rides, do you remember that electric e-bike I got a couple months back? I'm gonna say it. 750 me my electric about it is that 7 setting ever or you bikes in the U just opens in the Impossible City, which is Avengers HQ, with Iron Man reluctantly welcoming MODOK and Dr. Octopus aboard. He tells them, "You two are the last to arrive," which means I already know that look, and I'm afraid I've got some bad news. You won't see anything here that
He
the
is
Avengers
not way to
don't want
bury
you
it.
to see. Oh, and while we're laying down ground rules, let me just mention that our little space station / orbital super fortress here, the Impossible City, can block any mind control you might attempt, MODOK. Of course, if any of you want to try a good old-fashioned fist fight, I'd be happy to accommodate you. MODOK then replies, "If I wanted to kill you, you would already be dead." But before things escalate any further, Doc Ock chimes in and says, "The world is on the line, Stark. We don't have the luxury of you screwing
Heroes
up
and
anymore. You
villains
need us.
unite,
You
bruh."
need genius." But Tony responds saying, "Kinda thought that was what I brought to the table, Otto. But hey, desperate times and all that. Besides, the boss thinks you can be a help. Come on, let's find out what a doctor of octopuses and a giant murder head can add to the proceedings." We then turn the page to see that they're walking into a room with a mix of Avengers and other members of the Masters of Evil, who have come together to attempt to find a solution to the Doom problem. But it takes approximately 2 seconds for the heroes and villains to start fighting amongst each other as Wanda, Sam Wilson, Cap, Thor, and Iron Man start arguing with Arcade about who's to blame for letting the situation with Doom get out of control. So at this point, Captain Marvel steps
Too
in
many
and says,
egos in there,
"This is
bruh.
where we're at, people. We tried catching Dr. Doom in a lie, and he was ready for us. Then the Fantastic Four tried humiliation, and he was ready for that too. So that leaves the obvious. We're gonna beat the guy up, and while we're certain that's what Doom is expecting with a dozen intricate counterplans for us and our powers, I'm less certain of his ability to adapt those plans to you six. You're our wild cards," referring to the Masters of Evil. She then continues to explain to the villains, "All you need to do
so
is
now
what
you
do
want the
best.
help of the
Ruin
villains.
some best laid plans. Fight, scheme, plot, destroy. Each of you has proven yourself in battle, and you've also proven to my satisfaction that you are as unwilling to tolerate a world under Doom as we are." Mysterio then interrupts by asking, "Sorry, that's your master plan? Your big move? Punch Dr. Doom until he won't be Emperor anymore? He was already ready for you the last 2 times. What's different now? And don't say us." So Wanda jumps in and tells him, "What's different, Mysterio, is that this giant battle against Doom is all a distraction." Followed by Iron Man adding, "While we're fighting Doom, the Scarlet Witch and you, Baron Mordo and Madeline Pryor, will be combining your magic and telepathy to get inside the heads of world leaders. The goal is to find out what Doom's done to them, which, when known, will let us knock Doom's source of power, support, and legitimacy right out from under him." Captain Marvel then finishes by telling the group of villains that if they want a shot at Dr. Doom, that's how they get it. But if not, they'll send them back to Earth after the operation is complete. Well, after a very short consideration, all of the villains agree to join the mission, so we are then taken to the border of Latveria, where we see members of the Avengers and the Masters of Evil standing just outside the border and gearing up to attack the variant. MODOK speaks first, saying, "So now what? We just wait for him to show up?" To which Captain Marvel replies, "No, now we knock." We then see Vision, Thor, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, and MODOK collectively blast the barrier. However, even their collective power doesn't make a dent in Doom's magical shield. And when they stand down, Iron Man says, "Disappointing, but not unexpected. You're up, Vision." However, just as Vision is about to see if he can adapt to the barrier in order to phase through it, Dr. Doom arrives saying, "I assure you, Avengers, there's no need, for Doom has come to you." And on the next page, we see Dr. Doom flying in with T-Rex Doom to defend everyone, his borders. MODOK screams, "Silence! The only sound I'll hear, Doom, is the sound of your death." To which Doom replies, "Strange bedfellows you're keeping these days, Avengers. Have you really become so desperate to—" But he stops his sentence short and suddenly falls silent as he senses a single bullet piercing both barriers of protective magic. We then see the magically enhanced bullet hit Dr. Doom's mask and send him flying backward. And on the next panel, we see that it was Arcade who fired the shot. At this point, Mysterio jumps in and removes an illusion obscuring their strategically placed metal shredder that they were trying to knock Doom into. But just before he falls into it, the Dr. Doom T-Rex blasts it to pieces. Doom then starts yelling at Mysterio and Arcade saying, "Your cheap tricks are nothing. Do you not realize I control my dinosaur doppelganger as readily as I control my own body? His will is my will. I've dominated him entirely." But Doom quickly finds out this was just another distraction as Captain Marvel, Thor, Vision, Iron Man, Storm, Captain America, Dr. Octopus, and MODOK come flying in from behind him and blast him and the T-Rex with their full force. So at this point, their plan built on a series of distractions seems to be working flawlessly. Because while they didn't actually hurt Dr. Doom, they definitely now have his full attention. And on the next page, we see that this has cleared room for Wanda, Baron Mordo, and Madeline Pryor to search the minds of the leaders around the world and see why they are following Doom. Or if Victor has replaced the leaders entirely with Doombots in disguise. However, once inside their minds, Scarlet Witch is shocked at what she discovers and immediately radios into the Avengers, who are still battling Doom and his T-Rex. But Captain Marvel is able to hear the transmission and responds, "We're here, Wanda. What did you find?" Wanda then tells her, "It's not Doombots, Carol. Doom's only use of his Sorcerer Supreme power was to allow him to be in many places at once, to accomplish in a single night what would have been the work of years, maybe decades." Danvers then asks, "Work? What work?" To which Baron Mordo replies, "The work of negotiation, Captain, of tapping into the hate and fear already present after the vampire invasion, of building on the impression that the world is chaotic, the system broken, and the heroes just as bad as the villains." Wanda then finishes the point by saying, "Doom simply promised order, then offered everyone with power whatever they needed to secure their support. Money, security, health, time, sex, revenge. Everyone got exactly what they wanted. There are no spells to break, no robot duplicates.
They all got a price.
Doom didn't cheat. This isn't magic, Carol. This is human nature. We chose this." At that moment, Dr. Doom rallies his strength and finishes off the stunned Avengers and villains before telling them, "Now you know the truth. I did not take this title. I earned it." But Doom then throws another wrench in the mix by telling them, "Here's another truth you have not yet realized. Doom did not come here to fight. In America, there is a group of the worst, much more deadly than the mega villains who accompany you today, and they are in the process of escaping your highest security prison. The raft is, I believe, your chosen euphemism for this place. They cannot be allowed to succeed. Thus a question, do you choose to remain here to fight me, or do you choose to battle alongside Doom, to prevent things from getting worse and to serve the greater good? In other words, Avengers,
you gotta team up with them now?
Help people." Iron Man and Storm then confirm that what Dr. Doom is saying is true, with Vision adding, "The villains held there, Purple Man, Typhoid Mary, Carnage's Spawn, all loose in New York, all at once. This could get very ugly very fast." But a furious Captain Marvel says, "No, we attack Doom and a huge raft breakout just happens to occur at the same time? Please. He planned this. What's your game, Doom? To show us fighting by your side, tacitly supporting you? Well, it's not gonna happen. You don't rule us and you never will." Doom then tells her, "You misjudge me, Captain. Fear not, it is a sadly common affliction. But I assure you, Emperor Doom cares only for his world." But Thor isn't buying it either and says, "Nay, Doom cares only for Doom and speaks not the truth." Followed by Captain Marvel saying, "We won't play this game, Victor, and we won't be used for
y'all just gonna get your ass whooped.
We built the raft, and we will fix the raft without you. And I'll tell you this right now, this isn't over." To which Doom happily responds, "Over? Why, Miss Danvers,
it never started.
In the opening act." He then snaps his fingers and says, "Come, Steed, we have a message to send," as he and his doppelganger T-Rex return behind the protective barrier in Latveria. Now remember, Dr. Doom has been one step ahead of everyone up to this point, and it's now been fully confirmed that he has won the trust and favor of the public. So what happens next is no surprise, because on the very next panel, while we see the combination of the Avengers and the Masters of Evil stop the breakout at the raft, a news reporter begins to tell us it was a huge success for these heroes, proving there are still good people in this world. But the tone then shifts as she continues saying, or rather, it would have been had the self-same heroes not been absent beforehand, overseas on an extrajudicial attack against
went bad
Emperor
for them,
Doom,
bro.
thereby allowing this dangerous near miss of an escape to get as far as it did. The reporter then goes on to say, while their selfish attack did not harm Doom, it did delay him. Therefore, Doom teleported the Avengers to the raft himself, giving them the chance to make their own mess right, to manifest his will while he attended to even more pressing matters elsewhere. Even before his latest success, more and more of the skeptics were already coming around to give the guy a chance. And why not when the world is so clearly improving under him? The next panel cuts to Doom delivering his message from Latveria as he tells the world. One might point out how even while securing the raft, these so-called heroes allied themselves with villains, underscoring how morally compromised they are. One might also address how the world once again nearly tipped into chaos because of the actions of this rogue element. But Doom does neither, for the Avengers did see the error of their ways eventually. And such realizations are always better late than never. Instead, I simply thank them for their service to our world and to Doom. But here's where things take a dark and cosmic turn, because as Doom is saying this, the backdrop behind him begins to fade away as we are then taken to the Dark Dimension, where we see Dormammu is watching this whole thing play out. He then says, the power of the Sorcerer Supreme, and this trifling is what Doom does with it, become a sniveling politician, the weakness, the craven debility of it. He plays like a child with the power of his title, ignorant of its responsibilities, which suggests he may not even be aware of them. Yes, this is where the consequences of Doom's arrogant neglect of his responsibilities as Sorcerer Supreme comes back to haunt him. Because at that moment, Dormammu fully realizes the opportunity in front of him as he says, by the absent horror, yes, the spells Earth's Sorcerer Supreme must maintain, those that protect and secure Earth from the grasp of my dark dimension, they lie in ruin. Then over the next few panels, we see members of the Avengers begin to vanish into cosmic dust as Dormammu continues to say, the ignorance made manifest in this preening human. All who stand against me, I can now banish as quickly and as easily as a thought itself. And on the final page of the issue, we see the gateway to the dark dimension has been opened, and Dormammu now stands in front of Earth saying,
it's over now, boys.
Is ended. For none but that frail and hollow fool stand against me, claiming Earth for the dark dimension, and with it the rest of the eighth cosmos. So spake the Lord of Chaos, so spake the dread Dormammu, setting the table for a direct confrontation between Dr. Doom Sorcerer Supreme and Dormammu in the coming issues, which should be all kinds of fun. It's also very interesting to see them reveal Dormammu here, as he has already appeared in the MCU in the first Doctor Strange movie. And
that would be crazy. I don't think they would have him in Doomsday, but I mean, you never know.
Actions Victor Von Doom and maybe even Kang take to further the chaos leading up to the Avengers Secret Wars movie. Either way, for me, this was a really fun reveal, as I'm a big Doctor Strange fan, and a good highlight of
Secret
the
Wars. They should
low-key
bring Kang back.
Universe. And now we'll get to see what happens when those responsibilities are neglected. But what do you guys think of this twist and the One World Under Doom story up to this point? Let us know down in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time when we give you the history of the century.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.